because of stuff like that, I still think Lala going is the best thing for the game on a game level, because she has brought nothing to the game except cleaning, though honestly that's kind of a big deal with these pigs in this cast. What's up, everybody? Yesterday was another day of the same old in the Big Brother 28 house, but on the plus side, Drew's weak-ass, whack-ass game is imploding more and more each day, and I couldn't be happier about that. First, let's discuss Yash and Taylor, who have had some more strategy conversations these last few days. I think one thing I want to give Taylor credit for is being able to get Yash to at least try to want to work with a woman in her, but also just talking more game with women in general. Because as we saw the first 2.5 weeks of this game, Yash just wanted to bro down only, wanted an alliance with all the men and maybe Haley. It was absolutely ridiculous. So good on Taylor there. They've also done a lot of comparing on Drew's game and comparing notes on Drew, and I think Taylor has helped Yash see that Drew can't be trusted. They also had more talks later in the day, which I will get to. But I also need to talk about Mallory and just the people on the block in general. You know, one thing you can't say about Jason is that he hasn't tried to fight to stay this week. You can't really say the same about Mallory and Lala, though I guess it is to be perceived as easier for them on the block when Jason is this big target. Maybe they feel like they don't have to do that much campaigning. But I don't feel like Mallory fought hard to stay. She took her time to start campaigning. And then her campaigning was all kind of the same thing, word for word. And then it was also stupid how Mallory was getting worried and upset about Taylor and Jason talking to people yesterday, worried about where Taylor's going to vote, when Mallory never campaigned for Taylor's vote. And eventually yesterday, Taylor told Mallory and Malady that she don't think she could keep Mallory if it came down to Mallory versus Lala, because she doesn't want to vote Lala out low-key. That's been the closest person to her in the game, at the very least on a personal level. And again, like I said, Mallory never campaigned to Taylor in the first place. Taylor also thinks it might look bad on her if she were to vote out Lala. Now, I do think as the day went along, Taylor keeps saying that strategically she knows it's probably better to keep Mallory and Jason, although I don't know if that's completely true for her own game, because I don't think Mallory's ever going to be a number for her like Lala would be. Now, keeping Jason should make sense for everyone on this damn side. The fact that they've struggled to compute that, I talked about that yesterday. I don't want to rant about it again, but it is a lot of stupidity there. But Taylor is struggling voting out Lala for personal relationship reasons. Her and Yash had a conversation about the vote, and they listed the votes, and Taylor realized that she is would have possibly been the deciding vote between Mallory and Lala at that point in the day. What I also like about Yash and Taylor's game discussions is that they take each other's personal games into consideration, as in they understand that they are two players with agency in the game who are going to want to do their own things. I always will appreciate that kind of gameplay. It is a lot more fluid, and it is you playing your own game. So I liked when Yash told Taylor to vote in the way that's actually best for her game at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of potential in Taylor and Yash game talks. I mean, is it enough to save the shitty-ass season? No, but it's something. So Mallory and Malady were kind of upset that Taylor was not going to vote to keep Mallory, although they had no problem leaving her out of vote plans the night before. You know, I talked about this yesterday, how they wanted to wait until the last minute to tell Taylor that they weren't going to keep Jason. Jason was trying to get through to Lyric, saying that obviously Kamu, Chuck, Haley, Angela, Dee, Devens want him out, and that's very clear. He said that if he wins Blockbuster, he heard that that side wants Mallory out, and that side thinks they have the numbers because of Drew and Barrett. Uh, I think Lyric has been awake about Drew and Barrett, unlike Melody and Mallory, but I don't think she's ever really tried hard enough to get through to the two of them about how dumb and blind they are being because of those two rats. Devens and Dee's game plan was to try and make Kamu push the agenda that if it comes down between Mallory and Lala, that Drew and Barrett have to vote Mallory out. They have really been talking more and more about Drew's game, and that is a reason why it just continues to implode. They don't like that Drew is playing the game and that Drew has other alliances in the house, or could have other alliances in the house. My thing with the vets still is that as much as I want Drew's game to continue to explode, because I don't like his pussy ass gameplay, the vets are hypocrites, of course, because they also have all these different side alliances. But like, also Drew has come to the vets many times in this game to give them info about these alliances and info from these alliances. Angela's done a number with her paranoia on the vets when it comes to Drew. Drew told Melody not to talk to Taylor until the vote again, but she didn't listen. At least this was one of the first times we see Melody not just listen to what Drew said. She went to Taylor and started campaigning hard for Mallory to stay. Taylor started crying to Melody because she's having a hard time cutting Lala for personal reasons. Taylor is in a tough spot with this Lala stuff because, like I said, Lala would still be a number for her that would, I think, be loyal to her. And it's also not like most of this cast actually tries to connect with Taylor. Like Mallory, and Lyric don't really try to do that. So they haven't done a good job of campaigning to keep Mallory this week whatsoever. Taylor did start planting seeds to Lala that maybe Haley could be a rogue vote and actually vote out Lala. But this could have been her way of setting up herself voting out Lala. But speaking of Lala, like, she has not campaigned. She waited until the afternoon yesterday, the day before the vote, to try and start to do any sort of campaigning. And because of stuff like that, I still think Lala going is the best thing for the game on a game level, because she has brought nothing to the game except cleaning, though honestly that's kind of a big deal with these pigs in this cast. But Melody did more flip-flopping yesterday about keeping Jason, but she knows Drew won't do it, so she kind of gave up, though. You know, she did these mini tries to try and change Drew's mind to keep Jason. But I do think Melody could have done more this week. Lyric, meanwhile, just yesterday wanted to know if Kamu likes her, if it's time for a major flirt match with Kamu. I do think Kamu finds her attractive, although sometimes he also seems annoyed with her, so I don't know. Drew asked her if she had a crush on Kamu, and, you know, they have the whole Hawaii thing in common. Drew asked, what if he did have a crush on you, though? What would you do? And Lyric said, I mean, I'd get to know him on a deeper level. But, you know, Lyric's also been offended to hear that Drew thinks Lyric is more so playing Love Island, but he was not wrong about that. Mallory was talking to Lyric about how weird it is with Kamu calling her cute and stuff. Mallory said, don't be afraid to say, I don't want to get into another showmance. I have plans to see Rome after this. Mallory also telling Lyric that if Kamu is calling you cute and you are hanging out with him all the time, I think that doesn't look good for you. And then Lyric says, because I'm like a player or something. But like, yeah, you would think that is how Lyric is going to look. I mean, she honestly already looks like that on the outside looking in, but she could start looking like that in the game as well. Getting in a showmance as soon as she did was never great for the rest of her game, especially with Rome going so early. Now Lyric is like a one-trick pony, emphasis on trick. Angela was continuing to be a super Karen against Taylor yesterday, making up delusions of grandeur to paint a target on her, you know, because the last two winners were black women, you know. So Taylor is dangerous just like that, even though she's a totally separate person. And even though 21 of the winners of the show have been white, but also, you know, she shares a name with Taylor Hale, who's also a winner, and she has the same skin color as Taylor Hale. So, you know, Taylor just super, super dangerous. How dare she talk to anyone in the game and try and have any alliances? How dare Taylor try and get close to Yash? Dee being a Karen with Angela too lately when it comes to Taylor having any sort of game relationships in the house. But yeah, I can't wait until that potato-looking Karen that is Angela is off of my TV once and for all. Drew did try to do some selling with the vets to keep Mallory this week. Drew said, "We are not the biggest fan of Lala and Mallory. It's an easier hang." Devens said that was a mistake he made on Survivor and it was not the right move. Dee asked Drew, "Say we do decide to keep Mallory, how does that help us?" Devens said Barrett would rather keep Mallory and I want Barrett to be a happy member of the tool shed. But that's the only reason. Drew's reason was, "My other reason is she is close with Melody and I am able to get away from Melody when she is here. She distracts her so I can talk to you guys." Dee rolled her eyes when Drew said that. Drew did not see Dee roll her eyes. But Drew has no sense, filling this push from the vets when it comes to his game. But my thing is, where is Barrett pushing for Mallory to stay this week? He is the closest to her. Like, Barrett has this game relationship with Mallory, and it's like his only good game relationship outside of the big alliance. Kind of goes the same for Angela, though. Angela's kind of given up on keeping Mallory, and I don't think it's best for her game in the long run, but good. Fuck her. But Barrett has no game other than brown-nosing for vets. Barrett folds for Dee instantly all the time. Devens gets into his mind with ease. He could be losing his own number in the name of an alliance that he feels at the bottom of. Barrett is truly a waste of space. And, he has a podcast on these shows. I mean, what advice is he going to give on the podcasts after playing? Just say, coast to the end, don't even play the game, and be at the bottom of an alliance and give up your numbers. That's all Barrett can say on a podcast going forward. Any weak attempts from Drew and Barrett to keep Mallory this week if Jason wins Blockbuster was thwarted when Devens dog walked them early this morning. Devens was really kind of sticking it to Drew, in my opinion, in that conversation. And Drew, instead of seeing this as negative, like, oh shit, they want to suffocate my game, Drew and Barrett did what I predicted they would do and fold with ease. Like, I think I'm going to call Webster's dictionary and have weak bitch put in the dictionary so that Drew and Barrett's faces can be there, because they are the definition of weak bitches. Total cowards. So afraid to actually play this game. It's embarrassing. Devens is already ready to backdoor Drew himself. He told Angela this. Again, my thing with the vets wanting Drew to be one of the next targets is that Drew and Barrett are actually their most loyal dogs. They feel at the bottom of this alliance, and they're so weak that they would still try and please the vets. It's super pathetic gameplay, but it's also not smart of the vets to be this gung-ho about getting Drew out early when he has showed loyalty to them. I also feel like with these most recent seasons, the DR would be asking many questions to Drew and Barrett to try and get them to flip and shake up the house and make it more interesting. But clearly that can't happen this season in the DR, because production is all about protecting the vets at all costs and making the vets face zero adversity. So I don't think production wants a flip so that the vets could possibly be shooken up. But obviously I want Jason to stay. He most likely needs to win Blockbuster to do that, though. If he does and Mallory is voted out, Drew and Barrett are going to look even worse, because Drew's target is growing so big right now. Because imagine if Drew and Barrett go through with voting Mallory out, and then someone in the Hateful Alliance wins HOH, but then nominates Drew or backdoors Drew. It would be a huge betrayal. But it's what Drew deserves, in my opinion, with this weak-ass, whack-ass gameplay of his.